Alright, so I'm kind of in the mood to talk about Elden Ring, so I'm just going to talk over some rune level 200 invasions that I attempted across a series of patches with this Death Lightning theme. This is a caster that has a number of very interesting options, and attempts to use Ice Lightning in some capacity, but it most notably has a true combo of Ancient Death Rancor into Death Lightning. It might not actually be a true combo, but it roll catches, even if it doesn't kill outright. I also have Star Shower to combo with Ancient Death Rancor if people are just running away. I have Black Flame Ritual, and then I have the classic Lightning Spear as my poke and my long-range snipe option, and it's relatively good for that. It acts like Great Glintstone Shard in that way. It's actually stronger than Great Glintstone Shard, and might even be faster at maximum cast speed. Here we're rocking about 80 int, and then however much faith we need for Death Lightning, like 47 faith, and that makes the Golden Order Seal very, very good, and the Azure Staff is just wonderful on its own at 80 int, so we're not doing like the most damage, but we're doing a good amount of spell damage all around. After escaping this party, I choose to re-engage, and as I usually do, attempt to open up with Ancient Death Rancor, because if I can get even a single skull to hit, it is just so beneficial. You're so plus, you have so much time, you have so many free frames. It's just good. It's very, very beneficial to land. And look here at the speed of this uncharged lightning spear. Just so useful. I tend to just throw these out because they really aren't that expensive. The Ancient Death Rancors are good just to sort of irritate opponents into moving, maybe even into aggressing onto your position so that you can hopefully get something to work and get a pick. Here I recognize that this person is not approaching, but I know that they were waiting around that corner. We used Explosive Ghost Flame, terminally underrated, to poke through the wall and kill them. And honestly, at that point, Vigor check. That was a Vigor check. You kind of have to level your health if you want to play here at rune level 200. Castle Sol is a place that should be good for the invader, but I find has huge dry spots between the quite dense and powerful PvE. If I'm ever invading here, I'm always looking for ways to escape to the next bout of PvE, as that's usually where I can safely cast from or near, and I have some level of protection. Obviously, it is in these players' best interest to not follow me into said PvE, but it is still my job as the invader to try to lure them into it. No matter what the level, an invader's gonna need some PvE, you know? Unless you land one shot after one shot after one shot, you're very unlikely to beat an entire party with just your build. Lightning crit Misericord maybe will overcome that, but that's sort of its own department of debauchery. I actually do wonder how difficult that would be. I feel like at meta that's not a thing that ever really happens. Your AR is never going to exceed the value needed to one-shot someone, but I mean, you could get damn close. 1331 damage uncharged. That's what we like to see from Death Lightning. Death Lightning is, well, I call it Dice Lightning, but it's truly the name of the game on this build. You run up to someone and you play slots. It's fun. Maybe it's not very refined or highbrow, but it's definitely a gentleman's approach to casting. It's like being a samurai with quick draw or a gunslinger. All this time is just me looking for an opening and trying to get room to cast something large enough to hit both of them. And here we get a nice death lightning. Follow it with a lightning spear follow-up. And then we're so committed to the death lightning bit that we utterly fail to take the riposte. And then there should be a GG. Because once the phantoms were gone, it was just... And then this invasion is really nothing special. I find this wonderful high ground to cast from. And then I do just casting. In many ways, this build is an evolution of the original necromage concept, that we limited ourselves to like 133, rune level 133, to try and make that work. But this is unrestricted. We have access to all manner of options from both sides of the interfaith spectrum in excess, and we have maximum casting speed, and we have enough FP to support a continuous cast. This entire invasion I included just to demonstrate the potency of death lightning / dice lightning, and also the importance of just like picking a good moment to go for your Hail Mary, just like knowing when you have enough space and enough time to cast. Sometimes it's your only out, and it sucks, but also it's your only out. And death lightning is... If it one-shots, it one-shots. You know, like, it's rune level 200. I can't protect you all anymore. It's anything goes up here. You know, it's big projectiles. It's lots of projectiles. It's clouds of death blight. It's lightning just everywhere. Projectiles raining down from the sky. It's rune level 200. It's like 2 builds worth of stats. You can be 2 builds together. I really cannot stress how good this maximum cast speed lightning spear is. It does like 700 damage. It's so fast. Sometimes I like to imagine a fantasy world where I actually land a death blight on someone at rune level 200, but I have yet to actually do it in combat. I've done it on AFK people. I've not done it on a real live person. And the actual bolt from Death Lightning does an amount of curse buildup, and then the clouds also do additional curse buildup. I'm sure that if I were, like, paying attention to it over the course of an invasion and I were, like, surviving, then it would be fine. But as it stands, the raw damage output of Death Lightning is far more likely to kill someone before Death Blight ever does. Also, Gravity Kill with Explosive Ghost Flame. It does a knockdown. It's a unique type of frame advantage, even though you're still negative on hit at certain distances. Let's not think about it. Let's just appreciate Explosive Ghost Flame for what it is. It's a large, spherical poke that goes through walls. It knocks people down. It does a lot of damage. It does frostbite buildup. It does a lot of good things, as well as being incredibly slow and punishing to miss. Explosive Ghost Flame makes a bad Hail Mary. Death Lightning makes a good Hail Mary. And let me tell you, rune level 200 is just like Hail Mary after Hail Mary after Hail Mary from both the host team and you, so learn how to place them. This is like a joke rune level. I don't think this is like the serious, sophisticated Invaders rune level. It's 2 stats worth of builds. It's not very difficult. I'm basically using a joke build, even at rune level 200, and it's still just, like, dumping out damage. Which is partially because of my scaling, and partially because of the insane motion value of Death Lightning. But, like, everything else is also kind of coming together to form this unique whole. Ancient Death Ranker, especially, is putting in quite a lot of lifting. They're doing a lot of carrying me here. It's damage level 3, which is like the highest level of weapon hits done before a knockdown. So it's good stuff. Death Lightning likes to pretend like it has tracking, but I'm almost certain it does not. I'm like actually very confident that it does not. But there's a chance that it does, and that's terrifying. I'm actually pretty confident it's random. It would be really fucked up if it weren't random. The RNG of Death Lightning is quite literally the only thing that makes it fair at this point in time. Because there are spells that are far more powerful than it. Such as Carrion Piercer. Carrion Piercer is really fucked up. That thing is unethical at all rune levels. It's crazy. It's unhinged. It's like, if it's what a Lance running R1 wants to be, but can't yet be. The Lance running R1 wants to be Carrion Piercer. But here's the thing about Carrion Piercer. It's magic damage. And a Barrier of Gold exists. It is real. It is definitely a miracle that is in the game that can be cast very easily by a host party. And Carrion Piercer on a Barrier of Gold does not do so well. Unless you fully charge it and you get the knockdown, then it's good. But that's good for different reasons. Also, if they're letting you get fully charged Carrion Piercer out, you know, that's on them. But I don't even use Carrion Piercer on this build. I think if I did put it on, it would be too much, and also it would take away from this necromage character. I tried to make every spell be either death-themed or lightning-themed, and I got off course when it came to, like, Star Shower, and, there's one other spell that doesn't fit. Oh, Black Flame Ritual, which I guess is, like, kind of death themed, but it was on the original Necromage, and the original Necromage made great use of it for this reason, that it's just like an insanely good turn and burn that can sometimes combo into itself. It's just like, it's really good. It establishes an immediate zone of threat that maintains a threatening space for a good period of time after you cast it. It's just so good for casters. It might be for Faith builds what Magic Glintblade is for sorcerers, and Magic Glintblade is insanely strong for reasons that are not immediately related to, like, its damage or its hitbox even. Like, it's a fine damage option, and it has a fine hitbox, but it's just the idea of having a hitbox on delay that you can synchronize another attack with, making it, like, harder to dodge, is so strong. You can basically catch people into unreactable 50-50 situations that kill them, that, like, almost 100% of the time result in their death, from either, like, a Piercer to Glintblade to Piercer combo, or just, like, Piercer into Glintblade into roll catches with whatever. I was about to do the infinite on this guy with Ancient Death Ranker, but then I thought better of it, and I was like, no, let me go for, like, a mix-up here with Black Flame Ritual, and it did, like, eventually work out, but I can't pretend like the best decision wouldn't have been to just keep casting Ancient Deathranker. You can really just keep running away from it forever. I've been astonished at the amount of times that people have successfully rolled through Ancient Deathranker. And I'm only surprised by it because I have a terrible time rolling through it. And I'm so impatient when I'm trying to get around it because it has such a long tracking time. It just lasts forever. To my benefit and my detriment. And that was one of the things they buffed about it. It really was fine before. I had made the necromage work with Ancient Deathranker well before that patch. And then after they buffed it, it was just so much better. But necromaging is really quite difficult. And rune level 200 made it very simple. It also doesn't help that, like, lightning as a damage type is really fucked up. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. There are a lot of fucked up things about Elden Ring. And I mean fucked up. Lightning as a damage type is wild. It's the lowest base defense stat in the game because you can't raise it with any stats. And then most armor just naturally have bad lightning absorptions. It's just a recipe for disaster because the motion value of this lightning attack is so extremely high that it just punches straight through both defense and absorptions, and often will one-shot even people with 60 vigor. It's nuts. Okay, maybe not 60 vigor, and maybe not 60 vigor with Rune Arc. But it does a lot of damage, and I can usually finish people off with, you know, this sort of sequence of events. Continuously pelting with lightning spears, maximum cast speed, just insane. The range and the damage. Probably very easy to dodge once you're looking for it, but like on reaction, I would not be able to dodge that. If I were not looking for it, I would not be dodging that lightning spear. And you have to respect it because you can't just take 700 damage over and over again. I can't pretend like it's not at least a little fun to try to analyze rune level 200 nonsense, but like it's insane. It's not real gameplay. It's not reasonable gameplay. It's the most like oversaturated Elden Ring experience. Everyone is mashing L2. Everyone is slamming out spells. It's just a lot. If you really like Elden Ring, then like rune level 200 is the most Elden Ring for your Elden Ring. I really mean that. It is the most of Elden Ring in a PvP experience that you're ever going to get, because it's all of the juicy stuff. It's spells, on weapon arts and Ashes of War for days and days, because there's just so many numbers. You have just so many numbers. You've got 200 numbers, and those numbers, when you put them together, make a really pleasing whole. As you can see from this sequence, it is not exactly guaranteed that you can pin people down with a combination of Ancient Deathranker and Star Shower, which is something that I thought would be possible, but either due to a combination of latency or I don't know, some kind of internet network fuckery, it could be possible to dodge all of those projectiles. I don't like to admit it, but sometimes I feel like there are sequences of spells that are impossible to dodge, when in reality they are not. We have a fellow enlightening here, but they're using the dirty kind of lightning, the dexterity kind of lightning. The really obscenely broken kind of lightning. At least we're paying for our lightning in faith and int stats. Look at our endurance bar. It's so small. It's so tiny compared to our FP. I'm just glad this build can have poise and health. Those things really elevate the caster experience. They make everything a lot less irritating to fight. It smooths over the rougher edges of casting. Also, the damage on this guy's miracle was really not it. I don't know. I only took like probably maybe 100 damage, not even, from that. I could not say. I kind of have sequences of spells I try to just do to end things quickly in these sorts of scenarios, and once again, they did not really deliver there in the way that I usually like them to. Could be internet fuckery, could really be anything. For the record, I don't think there should be a sequences of undodgeable spells. I think that would be very bad. I do think that you should be disadvantaged should you let a caster set up without aggressing on them like this, and that is what I get. I do get an advantage. I am, like, frame positive. I've forced you to roll, you know? That's all kind of the point of this. I pay an amount of FP to shut off certain options for a little while, or make certain actions happen for a few moments. Like, this forces rolling. I can now do things that catch rolling, which I did not successfully execute there, but that's the idea. I'm including the next two clips for comparison's sake because they are representatively, this was like the last invasion I did on the previous patch, and then the next one will be the first invasion I did on the next patch, and it's just like night and day gameplay. Like, taking a break from it really gave me a different perspective on kind of how central Death Lightning is to making this whole thing work. And also just the myriad uses for Explosive Ghost Flame. It's really powerful. I don't get it. It shouldn't be, but it is. It works, but it shouldn't. It's really bewildering. It's one of those spells where you're like, I'm gonna go for this now, and you cast it, and it works out. More often than you would think it does. I really can't explain it until you start using it. It will make sense. Situations will arise that you will want to cast it in, and it will work. It's very much an invader's spell. It's something that only an invader would find useful, I guarantee you. Because it has that knockdown and knockback, so you can use it to knock people off ledges. You can do gravity shenanigans on elevators. You can cast it behind walls and around corners. It has a lot more utility than it looks like it should. Think of it like a cannon of Haima that you just cast on yourself. You just cast it on your location. It's an orbital death flame strike. It should just occur on you. And at maximum cast speed, which, by the way, is a big part of why it's so good now, I think, is that it just It happens near instantaneously. Like, you're almost never going to get interrupted before it happens. Unless you space it or time it really badly, but I feel like that would be something that's sort of on you to determine. You're not going to be able to cast just Explosive Ghost Flame. There's a point in the invading conversation after several exchanges between you and the host that you realize, oh, now is when I cast Explosive Ghost Flame. And then you do it, and it works out. Now, I'm not saying it will always outright kill. Sometimes it will just do a lot of damage. But that's still damage. And if you can whittle a host's resources down, then you're more likely to be able to kill them easier later on. Please don't go into the arena casting Explosive Ghost Flame. Don't do that. That would not be very excellent. I don't think that would be the most effective use of your time. I think that you would be better served trying to cast Death Lightning in the arena, which I'm sure would be perfectly functional. Do you see what I mean when I say that it's just a lot of Elden Ring being thrown at you in Elden Ring? Game of the Year 2023 Elden Ring. It's just like skeletons and moon and big fire geyser and lightning bolts and just everything on the screen at once. Blue katana laser, death laser, blue katana laser. Just so much, so many projectiles. It's very funny. And, I mean, in fairness, a lot of the projectiles are from me, specifically. I make up a disproportionately large number of projectiles in a given invasion. I am usually the majority of the projectiles. In their types. Maybe not in their frequency. Whereas any one given player may have their particular flavor of spell, be it blue katana laser or what have you. I have, like, 10. Well, actually 9, because Death Lightning takes up 2 slots. Although this individual has proven themselves to have at least 3. I'm telling you, max cast speed, Explosive Ghost Flame is another experience. It completely recontextualizes the spell. It makes it viable in invader scenarios. It's good enough. It could be used to hit a living person. And I think that's good enough. Look at all of the Elden Ring, all of the blood flies, and the big piss laser, and the the black flame ritual circle. Just a lot of Elden Ring all the time. I'm one to prefer Elden Ring in smaller doses. I've taken to liking, you know, rune level 6 to rune level 60. I can do that. I'm actually not too fond of 60 all the time, but I like it more now. I like my 72 plus 17, and I need to explore 90 plus 17 more. I've not really done a whole lot of experimenting at 90. I didn't love it the one time I did it, but I might try it again. I hear it's good. Up there, maybe, perhaps. But boy, 200 is just so much Elden Ring. I cannot stress how much Elden Ring is in this Elden Ring. Can I say Elden Ring a few more times just to say it? Like, I don't know. I feel like I need to say Elden Ring more. That's all it is up here at 200. It's just so much. It's so much. And because of that, it is very fun and very enjoyable. And a perfectly reasonable place to situate yourself if you were looking for a new invader landscape. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.